Everyone, Steve, welcome to the Audio Files. Incredible day. It looks like Taxman, the remix version 2020 by Giles Martin from the Revolver album, dropped today. I was on Spotify. I got a chance to listen to it a bunch of times today. I'm going to do a little shootout. The 2022 Giles Martin Taxman remix versus, of course, the original stereo version. And we know the Super Deluxe Revolver will be coming out in October. Remixed by Giles Martin, of course. Mastered by Miles Showell. So if you haven't, guys, already, please hit that subscription button, ring that bell. It helps me out a ton. Going to have some incredible guests on in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that. So let's get to my Taxman 2022 remix shootout. We'll see you on the other side of the audio files. Excited today to hear when when they're going to announce the Revolver Super Deluxe in October. It will be dropping 5 LP with outtakes, including a original mono version, plus new remixes of the singles such as Paperback Writer and Rain. Excited to hear those ones as well. Of course, the outtakes. I can't believe this is happening in October. Probably Revolver is my favorite Beatles album if I was to really sort of think about it. Just really on the cusp and the edge of really experimenting with the studio. And some of the songs that came off this album are just absolutely incredible. But today we've got Taxman, the first track, written by George Harrison. Now, and I want everyone to know, I actually spoke with Miles Showell from Abbey Road Studios, and he is, of course, the mastering engineer for Abbey Road, and he's mastered all of the Giles Martin remix Beatles albums since they have come out. And Miles told me today that, in his opinion, this is by far the best sounding Beatles remix album ever. Miles Showell, I'm quoting Miles, that's what he told me today. So pretty exciting. So of course, with him saying that, I had to listen to the Taxman 2022 version, and wow, I mean, my previous videos I did state, and this is almost 10 months ago, that Giles is looking for the right technology to separate all the instruments from the 4-track tape, which is very important as well to know, because I mean, the lead guitars, the bass, the vocals are all recorded at the same time on one 4-track multi-track tape. Okay, and because of this, there's no pre-bounce reels where all those parts exist separately. So that's why we had to come up, or I guess at some point we were waiting for this technology to come up to separate all the instruments from this 4-track multi-tape. Peter Jackson, the renowned Oscar winner and director, has the technology that Giles Martin was able to use to separate all the instruments out. And the result is the obviously the Taxman song that we got to hear today. I got to hear it on Spotify, like I said, and compared it to the original. And really, the remix, come on, it's incredible. Yes, it's the best sounding Taxman ever. You actually get to hear Ringo's drums in both sides of the speakers, and Paul's bass. The bass, really funky bass line, really groovy. If you know the old 60s Batman theme, I know Taxman sort of had I think George was trying to he got inspired by the Batman theme, so it has that Batman bass groove to it that you can hear. Paul also does lead guitar. He does that lead solo that we all know in the middle 8, which also ends the song as well. And that lead guitar solo is actually in the tape spool for Tomorrow Never Knows. A nice little fun fact as well. So I loved hearing this new remix of Taxman. It sounded way more, almost 3-dimensional. Everything was coming at you, as dynamic. It really, really popped, I felt, and all in, nicely defined, all the instruments. It just had such wide depth and, lots of cohesiveness in the instruments, and just felt like a totally different song than going back to the original stereo mix. Just a completely different song. It just had more bite to it, more pop to it, way more clarity, and all in. You know, of course, all the instruments, there was more contrast now because they were able to separate all those instruments. And I believe by separating the instruments, they can do something called stem mastering, which means they can take each track now, each part, each instrument, and master it separately, and then put it all together, which really helps, obviously, what we're hearing on the Taxman track, and of course what we'll hear on the rest of the Revolver album. So yes, Giles Martin, I mean, you'll hear about this, you'll read about this a lot, uses reverb, and reverb creates, you know, cohesiveness in the sound. It basically also gives more depth and more width to each instrument and the vocals as well. So yes, there's reverb, but I think that's one of the big things that you need from the Beatles as well, because of the way Revolver was mixed on the 4-track. By doing stem mastering and be able to master each instrument separately and put it all together and really get those vocals up front, Paul's bass, Paul's lead guitar. It's an incredible accomplishment, I feel, from a technology point of view. It's happening. I mean, if Taxman sounds the way it does, guys, it's just a whole different song now. I have a totally different appreciation for that song and the instruments, and Ringo's drumming in it again is very solid. Everything about that song has changed for me now because it's just more dynamic and just pops more than ever before from the original. It just has more of that three-dimensional sort of feel to it, whereas, you know, the old version, stereo version, was, you know, sort of muddy and bogged down and just didn't have that feel and that groove pop of Paul's bass. So this has been a real treat. So so far, yes, by just listening to Taxman, the 2022 just beats the original by leaps and bounds. There's just no comparison. I can't wait till October to pick up the Super Deluxe and listen to the outtakes. It's going to be incredible. And then, of course, probably, I would hope in the next year, we're going to see Rubber Soul get the same remix treatment. Can't wait for that as well, as this one definitely needs another definitely needs a remix treatment, as well as a lot of the songs sound muddy and distorted, of course, because it too is a 4-track recording. So that's my take on the Taxman Shootout. Really not much of a shootout because it's a no-brainer. This remix really gives you the full appreciation of the Beatles' talents and how the guitars sound, Paul's lead guitar. And it's interesting too, just one fun fact, George Harrison just couldn't figure out that part of the guitar lick. He gave it to Paul to figure out. Paul did it in 2 takes, and of course you hear it in the middle 8 and at the end, and of course again on the spools on Tomorrow Never Knows. So I mean, it's an incredible accomplishment to have this technology. Giles hit it out of the park so far. What more can I say, guys? October, can't wait for it. We'll see you again on the Audio Files.